And starting in verse 7. So Jesus again said to them, Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and to kill and to destroy. I came that they may have life and have life more abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. He is a hired hand and not a shepherd, who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees, and the wolf snatches them and scatters them. He flees because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own sheep, and my own sheep know me. Do we like being compared to sheep? You know what the one thing, when I think of a sheep, you know what the one thing is that I think about? A sheep is the dumbest animal that there is on this earth. The sheep will follow anybody. And if that first sheep starts following something that's going to go over a cliff, what's the rest of the sheep going to do? They're going to go right over that cliff too. As they learn to follow. But I like being compared to a sheep when I know that Jesus is my shepherd. Because I know Jesus will not lead me into the path of danger, but he'll lead me on the path to salvation. In verse 10 of the reading that we just had, he said that he came to give life and give life more abundantly. If you will, for a few minutes today, let's think about that abundant life. We think of the world and we think of abundance. And what do we think about? We think about joy. We think about possessions. We think about going to different places. In a Christian life, these are true, aren't they? Because we think about God and what he has given us. We think about heaven, of what God has promised us. And we think about the pure joy that there will be when we give there. That's an abundant life, isn't it? But we think for a second about the world. And what does the world tell us? The world tells us that true joy is found other places. The rich man Solomon, we know, or the rich man and the wisest man to live other than Christ. In 1 Kings chapter 3, he was going to become the king. He was going to have power over everybody. Riches beyond measure. God said, I'm going to give you one thing. What is the one thing you want the most? And his answer to God was, I want to be able to lead the people the way you want me to. I want to be the right kind of king. He could have asked for anything else, but he wanted that knowledge. The knowledge on how to lead. If you've been in the workforce very, very much, you know that there are people that leading that workforce that are easy to follow. And we know that there are some who are hard to please. If we listen to the world, we look at the abundance of the world, and what is there an abundance of? I don't get the newspaper anymore. I used to. But you know, the newspaper is pretty depressing these days. You open the front of the Beaumont Enterprise, and what are you going to see? You read about the murder that happened yesterday. And then you're going to go to the next story, and that's going to be the conviction last week of the murderer from last year that was sentenced to prison. You're going to read about robberies that happened in the town of Beaumont and Port Arthur. And you're going to read a lot of what? A lot of negativity. You're going to read a lot of evil. Is that an abundant life? Watch television. Many of the shows on television just show violence. Some of them show greed. Think of some of the game shows where people can win hundreds or thousands of dollars worth of prizes. And they've got a big prize. They've got a good prize. And they say, do you want to take another chance? And they're willing to give all that they had won up already on a chance to win something else. And many times they lose what they already had. I think of the world today who says there's no right or wrong. Whatever is right for you, whatever feels good to you, whatever you think is called postmodernism, but the Bible had another word for it. It was Epicureanism. Go out and do whatever you want to do, whatever you think's right. Go out and do it. There's nothing to stop you. There's no heaven. There's no hell. There's no God. There's no devil. When you die, you're going to be like Rover. You're going to be dead all over, and that's going to be the end of it. But that won't be the end of it, will it? The end of it will be when Jesus returns. And won't there be a lot of surprised people then? I don't think there's going to be as many surprised people as we expect there to be. Because a lot of people believe that he's coming back, they just don't want to. They put it in the back of their minds. And they say, let's just forget about that for now. But there's a time coming when we can't forget about it. Because you see, today will be the end of the world for some people. They're going to breathe their last breath. And the world as they know it will not exist. We're not guaranteed to live tomorrow. We've got to be ready whenever our time is up. Heard a lot of people say, well, if it's my time to go, then let me go. God knows what's best. God put everything into motion. God don't make every decision. Can he know what's going to happen? Yes. Does he choose to know what's going to happen? I'm not too sure. But if he wants to, he can. There's one thing for sure, we don't know. We might be in a bad car wreck today. A young boy was sitting there on the couch eating his lunch. Two gangs got together fighting outside, and a shootout happened. And the little boy was shot. His mother was holding him. And he was begging his mother, please don't let me die, Mommy. Please don't let me die. The little boy died. He was supposed to have a long life ahead of him, but he didn't. Arthur Pender was watching cartoons, and his cousin came up to him and said, get dressed. And he said, I'm watching cartoons. I don't need to get dressed. Cousin pulled out a shotgun and said, I told you to get dressed. If you don't, I'm going to shoot you. The boy said, I'm watching cartoons, and his cousin shot him and killed him. Yes, it happens. I did Arthur's funeral. It happens. One day, the world will end. And no matter what the world says, that's not the end of everything. That's just the beginning. It's the beginning of eternity. What is eternity? The eternity is abundant life for those who fear God. You see, when the wise man Solomon was seeking to find joy and happiness in the book of Ecclesiastes, he looked all over. He said, I know I'm going to find true joy in having all the money I need. Could you imagine having all the money you need? How much money is all the money you need? $7 or $8 million, you think that would bring you happiness? $100 million, $1 billion. You think it'd bring you happiness? What are you shaking your head no about? Of course that would bring us happiness. For a short time. For a short time. But you ask some of these people who used to be millionaires, like these sports figures, who are the best of the best. They wanted to be a GOAT all of their life. Actually, that was just here recently where GOAT took over to be the best of the best, the greatest of all time. Let me tell you something, there was only one GOAT that ever lived upon this earth. And that was Jesus Christ. Because there's not anyone greater than him. And how much money did he have? Foxes have holes and birds of the air have the nest, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. He was homeless, Matthew 8, verse 20. Jesus came to serve, not to be served. Matthew 20 and verse 28. He was a servant. He had nowhere to lay his head, but yet he was the greatest of all time. And Solomon searched in money, he couldn't find it. He searched in the pleasures of life, and he couldn't find it. He searched in the great power that he had as a king, and he couldn't find it. And finally he said, I believe it's Ecclesiastes 12:9, fear God and keep his commandments. And that's where we're going to find pure joy. That's where we're going to find the abundant life that Jesus has given us. Have we had an abundant life? Have we had an abundant life? Have you had an abundant life? I want you to think about it for a minute. And I want you to count your blessings. Have you had an abundant life? When we look at what all God has given us, God has given me the opportunity to preach the gospel for 34 years. To come in contact with thousands and thousands of people. And to be able to say to each one of you here today, I love you. And I hope you can say, I love you to me. And I hope that I am a blessing to you as you are a blessing to me. And I'm thankful to be able to look at Joshua, to watch him lead singing at 2 years old. Can you imagine what he's going to be like when he's 12? He's already trying to out-preach me. And he will one day. The abundant life is not how many things we have. It's how God's taking care of us. You see, no matter how poor we think we are, we can find somebody who has less than what we have. How many of us ate breakfast this morning out of a dumpster? I know people who have. How many of you lived last night in a dumpster? It wasn't hot last night. That rain came through and it got kind of chilly out there. I think it was 55 this morning, about 7 o'clock. It was cool. They climbed in that dumpster and covered it up with trash to keep warm. Did you? Sometimes we struggle, but that just means a good time makes the good times better. Count your blessings. Count your blessings of your children. Thank you. Precaution, honey, count your blessings of Joshua, Janisha. You know, at times, it's tough when you're not sleeping, isn't it? It's tough when that little voice cries out at night, I'm hungry. But oh, the smiles they put on your face when they smile at you that first time. What a blessing their children are. Children are a gift from God that He's given us to take care of and to raise. Both of my boys were baptized, and I was fortunate enough to baptize them. And I made the statement when I baptized both of them. I said, God, I give back to you what you have given me. He gave me a blessing. I wanted to give him a blessing. And I pray that my children are blessings to him. Once they get out of the house, you never know. You just have to hope and you have to pray that what they're doing is right. Wonderful blessings that we have that God has given us. Second of all, we have an abundant life when we give of ourselves abundantly. Do you want others to do for you, or do you want to do for others? I pray that our desire in life is to live for others. That's what Jesus was. We talked about it in Matthew 20:28. It says he came to serve. He gave himself unconditionally. Do we give ourselves unconditionally to God? Are we like Isaiah in Isaiah chapter 6 and verse 8? When God said, whom shall I send? And who will go for us? And Isaiah said, here am I, send me. It wasn't until a few verses later that he said, by the way, God, where am I going? And how long will I be? Unconditionally, he gave himself to God and said, here am I, send me. Will you and I give ourselves to God? Say unconditionally, here I am, send me. It may be some tough times, but God will be with us. He'll be with us. He'll help us through those tough times. And again, those tough times lead to what? They lead to good times. It just makes those good times a whole lot better. Every once in a while, we need to stop. And we need to be still. Listen to God. We get caught up in the hectic pace of life, don't we? Mike retired, and now he works harder than he ever did. And sometimes we don't think we have enough hours of the day. But every once in a while, we just have to stop. Every once in a while, maybe you have an AFib that says, hey, slow down. Sheila said, it don't work. Just imagine how busy I'd be if I didn't have it. Every once in a while, we need to slow down. We need to stop. We need to know God. What about God do we need to know? We need to know about His love. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. What did God give? He gave his Son. Why did he give his Son? Because he loved us. We need to understand the love that God has had and has for us. So we live upon this earth. And lastly, to have the abundant life. We need to have the abundant life. We need to start the day off right. I heard the thunder. And I heard the rain this morning at 5:30. Did anyone else hear it at 5:30? Mike was probably out walking the dog. Most of us aren't up at 5:30. When you got up this morning, what'd you do? I got up and I thank God that I was able to get out of bed. I got up and I thank God that today I don't have to go to worship. I get to go to worship. I thank God for the rain. I don't know how many of you have noticed, but the trees are getting green. Flowers are coming out. Spring is about here. We've already sprung forward the time. But oh, the beauty is on its way. And sometimes we need to start off the day right. And just thinking about God. And thanking God for allowing us to live another day. Every day, I want y'all to know I thank God for you. I thank God for you. And have you've encouraged me. I've been allowed to be the preacher here for 23 years. Just a few months, I'll start the 24th year. Almost a quarter of a century. I'm thankful. I'm thankful for everyone who's ever sat in those seats. What they mean to me in my life. And I hope we're all thankful for each other. We have an abundant life. It just depends on how we look at it. We don't have to look at the abundancy of the world and see what all's happening out there. But we see the abundancy that we have in our lives, in the blessings that we have, in unconditionally giving of ourselves to God and to others, of stopping and being still and knowing God, and the ability to start each day off the right way. We do have an abundant life. And I thank God for the abundancy of it. What I thank God for most is giving us His Son, so that when we die, we have the hope of heaven when we leave this world. And that's the abundancy I want to see. That's the abundancy I want to be a part of. It's living eternally in heaven when life here on earth is over. We always want to offer an invitation. Maybe you need to respond today. Maybe you need to ask God to help you to understand. Why not have many prayers going up instead of one? What better day than today to ask for those prayers? If we can help you in any way, we ask that you come now as we stand and as we sing.